Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Donna Oberg, and we're going to be discussing her amazing book, The Art of Falling, Lessons from a Lifetime of Trips, Slips, and Faceplants. It's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com, pretty much any online book reseller. Head on over there today and pick up your copies. And before we move any further, I do want to take this opportunity and point out that Donna was brought to our network, People of Distinction, by one of the best publishers in the business, Author Flex Media. So people, I truly mean this. If you or anyone you know have a book that they'd like moved, contact Author Flex and have their wonderful team move it for you. Okay, they're one of the best in the business to do it, and they can absolutely take your literary creation to the next level. So head on over to their personal site, authorflexmedia.com today, and see what they can do for you. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Donna here on the line. I'm really looking forward to this because at the end of the day, we're going to learn from Donna's experience. We're going to learn from her background and her journey. And people, you may not be able to relate to every single aspect of it, but that underlying notion of perseverance, that underlying notion of looking adversity straight in the face and being strong enough to overcome it is something you're going to be able to take to the bank, okay? Sometimes, as Donna says, we just need to be reminded of how strong we are. And I love that notion because how often do we come across something and we think to ourselves, I don't know how I'm going to get past this. I don't know how I'm going to do this, right? And it brings me back to a quote I remember learning very early on. I mean, I was a teenager when I heard that. And the quote was something along the lines of, God doesn't put anything in your path that you're not strong enough to overcome, right? And listen, for my people out there that aren't religious, right, that's fine. You just replace that word God with whatever you want. But at the end of the day, anything that is happening to you, I firmly believe you are absolutely enough. You are strong enough to overcome it. Now, it may not seem like that in the moment. You may not be able to see that light at the end of the tunnel. But at the end of the day, as I stated before, you start to realize on your journey traveling through life that it's filled with potholes, and sometimes you're going to catch a flat tire. Well, listen, you take it over to the side of the road, you change that flat, and you keep it moving. And I absolutely love what this book embodies. I love what it represents, and I love the education that you're going to receive once you pick it up. And at the end of the day, Donna is the expert, so let's go ahead, let's bring her here with us, because she is absolutely going to be able to articulate it much better than I ever could. Donna, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Donna, the pleasure is all ours, okay? This was a no-brainer when the opportunity came to have you as a guest on our network, People of Distinction. We knew that this was one we could not pass up. Again, whenever we have authors, especially the ones that have written memoirs, right? Written self-help narratives this way. Listen, I think it's clear when I say, given the current state of the world, right, with here in the States, the political divide, but really you pick your country and there's probably some division happening there as well, between politically, between socially. I mean, there is just a lot of things happening right now. And a book of this magnitude, I think, is perfectly timed. So we're really looking forward to the lessons we're going to be able to pick up from you, not only within this short interview, but especially when we pick up your fantastic book. And Donna, without further ado, let's jump right in. The Art of Falling. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so when I started writing this book, I didn't actually know it was going to be called The Art of Falling, Lessons from a Lifetime of Trips, Slips, and Faceplants. But being born with cerebral palsy, one of the things that I often say to people to put them at ease, because it will happen, part of who I am and what happens, but I followed that up with but just pick me up, dust me off, and away I will continue on. And so as I started writing and talking about my journey through life, I realized that was a theme that I wasn't going to be able to avoid. And in fact, the theme of who I've become, because by falling, I have learned so many things about grit and resilience, about looking for the helpers, and honestly, about leaning into those falls and understanding in my life that I'm going to have failures, but I have what it takes to overcome it and have a fulfilling life. And I believe that no matter whether you are able-bodied or disabled, you could actually relate to those stories.
Donna, thank you very much for that. And I want to go into inspiration. I think you've already started to lead into it. And I think it's safe to assume the answer to this next one, but I'm not going to do that to you, Donna. Let's go in and hear it directly from you when it comes to your inspiration behind creating this narrative. This very easily could have been something that you verbally told those around you, or, a personal thing that you kept on your shelf, but you wanted to put it out for the public, and I'm sure that there is a reason behind that. Talk to us about why you felt compelled to embark upon this writing journey and publish this book.
Honestly, again, what I'll say is that I think that these stories really resonate with anyone with regards to them going through hardships and wondering if they had what it takes, just like you mentioned earlier. And when I left my corporate career, I was in corporate for 25 years. I left it because I felt like there was something else I was meant to do. I loved writing. I've always enjoyed it from the time I was younger, writing stories. I started a blog after I left my corporate world. I became certified as a coach, and I thought, what a wonderful medium, something that I really enjoy, to be able to speak to potential clients, but the general population, about able to face failure, face falling, and a life that they really want to have.
Donna, I want to take this opportunity and really offer some words of wisdom. Like, listen, we're quickly getting an idea and a vision for what your book embodies. Well, as if my listening audience needs any extra incentive, for those of us that are out there, and of course, it's kind of an unfair question to ask because it is very broad. When we're talking about adversity, it is as wide-ranged and as unique as the individual. But I want to take this opportunity, and hopefully you can entertain me and our listening audience and formulate an answer for this for anyone out there that finds themselves in a dark place, finds themselves going through a tough battle of their own and can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. What are some words of wisdom that you can offer them, of maybe some tips that you picked up along your journey that you can share with them?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind, there's a lot, like you said, but the first thing that comes to mind in the area of life that I am, look for the helpers. So we don't want to tell people where we're at. We don't often want to ask for help because we think it's a sign of weakness, but actually it's a sign of strength. When you can put aside all those fears and be able to say, I just need some help. Those helpers are absolutely everywhere. They don't, and wearing capes, they're there, and oftentimes they are just waiting for you to help. And some of the most successful people, they're successful because they know they can't do it all by themselves. They know that there are people that they need to reach out to in order to achieve those milestones, in order to pull themselves out of those dark places and find the light again. So that's the biggest lesson I think I learned throughout my life, because when I was younger, it was like the plague. I did not want to ask for help, ever. And it took a while for me to become comfortable with who I am as a person, who I was meant to be in order to be able to actually ask for help and know that that was a sign of strength.
Wow. Donna, listen, that is probably one of the strongest things that I think you can do, right? But I absolutely can relate. And people, I know you can as well. That is perfect advice that can easily resonate because we all know what it's like to be in that vulnerable position in really that battle within our minds of extending that invitation for help, but then that fear of potentially being rejected or looking weak or feeling weak for doing it. And I love the fact that you chose that. Of all things that you could have said, you chose that to really focus on because I think it is something that is oftentimes overlooked. I love that advice. People, that's just one particular tip. I'm telling you, The Art of Falling, Lessons from a Lifetime of Trips, Slips, and Faceplants, through Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Head on over there, pick up your copies today. This is a fantastic resource to add to your shelf. Donna, curiosity for myself with this next one, but we know that this book is a culmination of lifetime experiences. But I want to take an opportunity and what would you say was a highlight for you in seeing it come to fruition and developing it? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you during the journey that you weren't anticipating before you began?
I think what surprised me as I was going through the journey was the emotional roller coaster I was going to go on when I embarked on writing it. And I didn't think, because of the way that I wrote it, I didn't think that I was going to experience those emotional highs and lows, but I absolutely did. And so in one of the chapters, I talk about forgiveness. And one of the biggest things about forgiveness is that most often the person we need to forgive is ourselves, because of all the negative chatter that goes on in our minds.
Yeah.
And we need to forgive ourselves for being our biggest bully, right? And I wrote that chapter and I had tears streaming down my face. And I totally didn't expect it because I made it lighthearted. I was trying to make it more funny than anything, but there I was. And then there were times that I'd find myself laughing uncontrollably, remembering the stories of a fall where I slid into the Louvre underneath the Mona Lisa, and just remembering that and how funny that had to have looked to some people. And so the whole gamut. So I was honestly very surprised, like I said, about the emotions that I would feel as I wrote this memoir self-help book.
Mm-hmm. Donna, would you say, was it fair to say that this process could have been cathartic or even therapeutic for you?
Oh, absolutely. It was. I don't know if I would say cathartic because I'd gone through a lot of what those experiences were. Just imagining where I would go with the book, but it was definitely therapeutic because I was doing a lot of research before I would even write a chapter. I would do research on the different topics like self-care. Life is about the journey, right? The experiences and all of those things. And I did a lot of research, and within that, you're reading a lot of people's articles, and you'll see in my writing, I'm often influenced by my coaches, my mentors, and even more famous ones like Simon Sinek and Brené Brown. Those voices, it really did help me work through a lot of things just by doing the research.
You know, the reason why I asked that last question, Donna, in my mind, as I hear you talk about that experience, it reminds me of something that I'm sure is still happening to today, but at least in my circles, it doesn't seem to be as prevalent anymore, right? And that's journaling, right? And we're not saying that everybody that's listening to this interview right now needs to go out there and write a memoir. I mean, listen, if you do, absolutely, that's fantastic, right? Go ahead and do it. Your story needs to be told. But the process of journaling and how beneficial it can be, even if it never is viewed by anyone else's eyes. But sometimes just getting those experiences out, and it could also be, just talking to those around you. But in this example, of course, we're talking about her writing journey and how beneficial it was for her to go and relive some of those experiences. I think that there is something to be said there about our own individual challenges that we go through on our own lives. And sometimes just writing it, right? Putting it out on the page and forcing ourselves to relive some of those experiences and how beneficial, and as she stated, and as I put out, therapeutic that can be. That process in and of itself. And listen, if you're brave enough to put it out for the public to experience it as well, we're here for it. Okay, I love that. Donna, as we start to close out of this fantastic interview, I love having this platform. As I mentioned to you before in the pre-screening call, I'm an artist myself, and I do love to take the opportunities whenever they present themselves to utilize it in a way of paying it forward to other artists, and in this instance, other writers out there listening in. Now, Donna, you're someone that has been through the process. You've written your book, but you've also gotten it published. And anyone that's been through that process understands each of those things are entirely different battles, right? Now, I know you have potential aspirations on writing a future book, and we sincerely hope you do. But Donna, for any new writers out there listening in right now, what would you say are some words of wisdom that you may be able to offer them about the journey they're getting ready to take?
I think believe in yourself is the first thing, and knowing that your story needs to be heard by someone. So there's 8 billion people on this planet. Someone out there needs to hear your story. The other thing is, for me, it was about getting a writing coach. So having a coach, someone who had been through the process, someone who was professional and could honestly tell me when I was doing it right and when I was doing it wrong. And quite often, because she knew I had a sense of humor, when I was in one of those funks and when I was in one of those down moments or even sappy moments, and I came across like a Hallmark card, she would say, "No, write it again. And this isn't you. This isn't your voice. This is somebody else's voice. You've got to dig deeper and write again." The other thing is, like you said, journaling. Journaling is so important for self-care, self-healing, writing a book. I often tell my clients, my coaching clients, to write journals and write things down, write letters to themselves. Do not throw anything away, even if you think it totally sucks. And it might, who knows? But there's going to be some nuggets that you're going to steal out of that. And it will fit in this book that you write or the next book. And don't throw anything away, and just keep the faith and keep writing. I didn't write every day. Some people say you have to write every day, and I didn't, because I honored my emotion. But I also had the accountability partner of the writing coach. And so there weren't that many days in between where I wouldn't write, but I didn't feel the necessity to write every day. I really honored my emotions and where I was at to make sure that I was in that frame of mind to do what I set out to do that day. And just when you see that proof copy come to your door, you open the box and you look at the fruits of what you've done, and the pride that you will feel. I've never had children, so I can't compare it to that. But I said to people, it was like I had given birth because everything that I went through, and then to see that shining face shine back at me, the product of something that I so deeply felt other people needed to read.
Donna, listen, from an artist perspective, right? Artist to artist here, I completely understand your comparison. Because as artists, our art form and our art creations are our children, right? We're birthing them, we're creating them and offering them to the world. I'm right there with you. I completely understand that, and it resonates. People, so much wisdom in those final words, and just a couple of things that I want to touch up on. The very first thing that she said was believe in yourself. My goodness. Can we just stop and analyze how powerful that is? Whether you're a writer, whether you're an artist, or you're just a human being, my goodness, believing in yourself is crucial with anything that you're doing. And so often, it's in short supply, right? So often, we don't believe in ourselves. And it leads us down some pretty depressing roads, right? Some pretty dark roads. But that's why, and the next thing that she said was having that support system, right? Having somebody there that was able to keep her on path and offer constructive criticism. And I'm going to say it again because I think it's so important. It needs to be heard. Not criticism. Constructive criticism is key to anyone's journey, but especially an artist, right? Because listen, we're not perfect. We're not going to do it right the first time. I mean, some people may, and if you do, listen, more power to you. That's fantastic. But again, speaking from my own experience, it doesn't happen often. So you need to have those people around you that can give you that blunt transparency, but do it in a way that is effective and can really get the most out of you. People, I love this, man. We have barely scratched the surface, and there is still so much left to discover. Amazon and Barnes & Noble, I say it for you again. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. You got to pick up this book. It's called The Art of Falling, Lessons from a Lifetime of Trips, Slips, and Faceplants by Donna Oberg. You truly, Donna, you are the absolute embodiment of a person of distinction. Okay, I really do mean that with the words that you've put on the page. This is so much larger than a literary creation. This is a movement, right? This is a lifestyle change. This is something that I'm telling you, people, it needs to be on your shelf. It needs to be on your shelf. It needs to be on your friends and your family shelves. You got to get it as a gift. You got to get it for yourself. I mean, head on over there and pick up your copies because this is that beneficial. The words that she put there, and really when you read in between those words and really see what they can embody and represent for yourself and for your life. Well, listen, now as my grandmother would say, you are cooking with gas. All right, I love it. I absolutely love it. Donna, this has been a true pleasure. Such a delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me.